And I think it's going to record. There we go. Welcome, everybody, to Lunch and Learn Tuesday. Just a reminder, it's Tuesday, not Monday. And today we have the IT department. So let's see who's here. Looks like Greg's here. Looks like Neil's here. Milt's here. Who am I? Oh, I can't see everybody. Bill's here. Shannon's here. Wow, everybody's here. Pretty much. Okay. Almost the entire department is here. And so today they're going to show you how to do, dive into your device settings. So like your Chrome settings, I think they're going to start with. And then if we have time, a lot of you are also on Windows machines, so they can show you some settings in your Windows machines, but everybody has Chrome settings. So that would be a really good starting point. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to the IT department. So whoever wants to start it and get it going, take it away.
I just want to start real quick to say that there was a change that Milt made today about the grid view. Now, we had an update to the grid view, so it wasn't working actually very well up until he had made that change. And we're basically going with a different version of that grid view and forcing that to be pushed out. Okay. So, yeah.
Is that happening? Like, should they have that new version now? Because I'm getting panic chats from some teachers about it right now that need the grid view now.
Right. So, Milt, can you just say a quick word about that?
Okay.
Yeah. So that grid view extension is an add-on that was, totally not supported by Google or anything. Google has added a newer grid view option themselves, but it's limited to, I think, 16 participants. The grid view extension, though, is still working. It's just a new version of it, as Greg was saying. It was originally released as an extension by an entirely different person than who had created the feature, essentially. Since then, the person who created the feature has released their own version of the extension, and they're keeping it more up to date. It was that other version that basically had gotten out of date, and they weren't keeping up with it.
Okay. So it's already there.
It is pushed now. We have I pushed the new version and blocked the old one. Some folks may see both, and if you do, you won't really see it in the normal little spot where you would click the grid view extension. But if you're noticing, you have two icons up in the extension bar, like up next to your URL bar. One has 4 dots in a grid, and the other has a 9-dot grid. If you see the 4-dot one, that's the one that needs to go, and all you need to do is just reboot, and it'll clear out. The new extension seemed to push just fine, even without a reboot, but the old one didn't clear out until I rebooted anyway. So you folks may need to do the same thing.
Okay, I'll let them know. All right, go take it away.
Okay, so I think probably if you're going to go into settings, the most helpful settings would be clearing, and this is something we ask people to do pretty often, which is clearing cookies and clearing account histories, and and that from Chrome settings. And it's something we often ask people when they're doing their restart, and it's something that we ask when some extension or whatever might not be working correctly. Do I have a volunteer, from my team to just, share screen and just go through clearing the settings in the Chrome settings? Because actually, before we do that, we might want to clarify the difference between logging into Chrome in the browser and logging into Chrome as an account difference. So that's often something that normally confuses anyone. And if anyone gets confused by that, please raise your hand and we can go into that. And maybe if no one has a problem with understanding how to log into Chrome, the browser, between the difference between that and logging into your email account from Chrome, if somebody needs that, we could do that. But if everybody's okay about that, we can move right to just clearing settings and looking at the settings categories.
Can you just show that real quick? Oh, Cindy, is that, wait, am I? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Can you show that, what you mean by that, like logging into the browser? Because I think that is important detail that is often missed, and what that means.
Who wants to take that on? Who wants to take that screen sharing on? Milt is raising his hand, as the dutiful Milt is prone to do.
I can do that. Yeah, give me 1 second and I'll share my window here so you can see how that functions.
So while he's doing that, like this, the thing that often gets people hung up and is the fact that they could actually be logged into Chrome with their personal account and just simply have a tab open that they're logged into their work account. And that is not something that you want to be doing.
Right. Okay. Can everybody see my window here? Okay. So as Greg is mentioning, yeah, there's a difference between logging into your Google account into Chrome and logging in with your Google account into just one of the Google websites, either Google Docs or Gmail. So I'm just going to show quickly. If you are logged into your account in Chrome, you're going to see generally an icon up here in the corner. I hope you can all see where my mouse is, up in the upper right-hand corner, right next to the 3 dots. And what that is, it's going to show you which account you are logged into Chrome with. And as Greg mentioned, you can have multiple accounts signed in here. So I have quite a few accounts. When I click that icon, it's going to show you this is your name and your email address. And it's going to show that you're logged in. And these are additional accounts that you could have. So I have an account for the RSWSU domain, RCSU domain.
Bill.
Actually, yeah, that's a security precaution.
Okay, so it's locking that out. All right. But essentially, even if you can't see it right there, that is just going to be just a list of the, a list of the accounts that you currently are signed into Chrome with. But the big difference here and the big thing to note is that whichever account you are signed into Chrome with right now, so the one that is currently showing up there, you do see the icon itself though, right? You just didn't see the menu.
Right. I think,
Okay.
Are you just showing the tab and not your whole entire screen?
No, I was showing a whole window. It should show the whole thing, but I may have to share my screen, to show the drop downs and such. But I'll switch to that in a moment if we can't continue. But as it is anyway, that icon itself, that account, whichever account you are signed into as the account for Chrome in this window, is the one that is basically going to be sort of dominant everywhere you go. Additionally, inside Chrome, inside any browser window, you may see this icon, which you note is the same one in this case, and that's a good thing. This is for my Google account, GRCSU. This is saying I'm signed into Google, so Google websites for that account. So if I go to my Gmail, you're going to see my Gmail pop up, whole bunch of messages. There we go. If I go to another Google site, like Drive, same thing. We're always seeing that same icon up there. And when you're in a GRCSU account, you're also going to see the little GRCSU logo there that we also have. So those are the same, and that's actually a good thing. The confusion can come in when you have one account signed into Chrome here and a different account or multiple accounts signed in down here. If you are on a machine that is, as Greg was mentioning, maybe a home machine, or you've signed in with your personal account, you may see that personal account signed in into Chrome, and then you've tried to log into your work Gmail or work Drive. And if you do, you could see multiple accounts here. Is everybody seeing this little drop down? To be sure.
Yes,
so,
you can see that.
Good. So this here essentially could have multiple accounts. So you see how it has that lovely little add another account button? You really in my experience, never want to use this. Some folks do, and it can be manageable, but it gets confusing. And the reason for that is because you're signed into Chrome with your Google account, or GRCSU account, I should say here, or hopefully you are, it still remains the dominant account, even if you've added another account here, your home, or a second account that you might have. The GRCSU account is still the one controlling the browser itself. So it's determining, the settings that we've pushed, like the extensions, as we just mentioned, for Google Meet, or any other settings that we push, including things like your cloud printers. And if you've switched accounts down here to your home account or something like that, it's going to get really messy, because someone might send you an email and you click the link and then you're wondering why it's not opening because it says you don't have permissions. It's likely that you have an account mismatch between those two things. So what I find to be the easiest solution is just to make sure you're only signed into one Google account down here per Chrome profile. And I'll change to sharing my whole screen in a moment so you can see how we can add a new profile here if you do want to have multiple copies of Chrome or have multiple accounts. I think the easiest method to do that. The one exception to this is if you are on a Chromebook. So a Chromebook is a little different. Because we sign directly into a Chromebook with a Google account, that essentially is taking the place of this. So you can only sign into one account at a time with a Chromebook, and that's signing into Chrome, essentially the same way as we sign in here. In that instance, you may need or may find it useful to use this feature, the add another account within the website. That can be one of the only times where it is helpful to do so. But you could sign right out of the Chromebook and sign back in with another account if you needed to. It just can get a little harder to manage then, because unlike Windows, where you could have multiple windows open, in Chrome, you'd have to sign right out of Chrome and back in with a new account. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay.
Yes.
Good. So let me swap sharing here for just 1 second so you can see my whole screen. All right, is everybody seeing this now? Hope so. Not quite. There we go. Okay. So is everyone seeing the whole window now?
I think so. Click on that.
All right, so I click this.
Yep.
All right, great. So again, now we're just seeing that this is the account I'm signed in with. It's just a larger version of that icon, and it does show your name and full email address here. And these are some additional accounts that I have. Some, from our old domains, and some test accounts, guest accounts, things like that. But at the bottom, there's an add button. And this is where you would sign into multiple Google accounts in Chrome. So these are all Chrome profiles, is what they are called. Right now I'm signed into my GRCSU profile, but if I need to add a new one, you just hit add. It's going to ask for a name. You pick a little icon here. You have a few options straight from Google for icons, but you can also upload a picture later if you want to adjust that. You can take a photograph of yourself with your webcam or upload a photograph you might already have. In this case, just going to grab new name, pick this, and this name is really for your own reference. It doesn't have to be the Google account you're utilizing, but just something for you to differentiate what your accounts are. You have the option here to create a desktop shortcut, and this can be helpful. I definitely recommend folks do that if you're going to be using multiple Google accounts to sign into Chrome. So I'm going to add this. And so now it's saying, okay, you have a new instance of Chrome. And I have a few things open, but you'll note this. I have two different windows now. This one signed in as my GRCSU account. And this one right now, it's a new account, not signed into Chrome yet. It's just a new Chrome profile. It's asking me when I first create that to sign into Chrome. Do I already have a Google account? Do I want to sign in? And here we go. So if you already have a Google account, let's say your home Google account, and you want to have a separate profile for that, this is where you would do it. So you sign in, you would type in your email address, hit next, password, and next. And what it's going to do then is associate this profile, this new icon I've created, and the new profile that is selectable for me. And I'm just going to go here so you can see while I'm in my GRCSU profile, you can see this new test one I've created right here. And if I click that, all it's going to do is open this window essentially. But now it keeps those completely separate this way. So I would use this window for my GRCSU things, and this window once I'd signed in for, let's say, my personal Gmail account. And that way they're completely separate. That can prevent confusion of, you're clicking on an email from GRCSU and trying to, find that document that someone has shared with you. And when you click it, it says you don't have permission. It may be, again, that you are trying to access it with your personal account, even though you don't realize that. Because you are signed into multiple accounts here, it could be causing that confusion. And that's one thing we've seen quite a lot. Are there any questions related to that? No questions? Okay, good. Well, that's it for that one.
Awesome. So who wants to take on settings? Oh, Brenda raised her hand. Hi, Brenda.
Hi. Well, actually, mine can wait till the end of this because it's about a different subject, kind of.
Well, what you want to throw it out there to make sure they cover it?
Well, it's kind of about the email that I had sent you on Friday. It's about like a beginner kind of class for Google. I worked at a different school, and I've been fumbling my way around everything. And
yeah, I got some resources for y'all that I can send to you for sure.
Oh, awesome.
Yep.
Right.
There's some good stuff out there. So I will make sure to compile it. Brenda was talking about kind of Google like 101 stuff, kind of like getting through and understanding how to use it. And there are some stuff out there, and I'll share that with you. And maybe that could be tomorrow's Lunch and Learn because I haven't decided yet. So, Brenda, thank you.
I just, I have a basic understanding, but I am missing out on so much, like, how to, even like Gmail, like how do I do groups? How do I do folders? I mean, very basic
Yep.
stuff.
So I will put that on tomorrow's Lunch and Learn. So thank you on how to learn how to use Google and where you can go to self-navigate through all of this. Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I guess I don't know if any of the technicians want to pipe in and say, okay, we see this very often. I'd like to run through this as far as settings. But certainly updating Chrome and updating your Windows machine are two things that users don't typically do, that we almost initially ask them first, did you do this? Did you do that? And maybe that's two things that that we could show you, unless somebody thinks that there's a setting that might be a bit more pressing. Neil, I don't know if you want to chime in about the things that you're directing others to check. I mean, I don't know if you let them do scan disks or you let them check their memory. I don't really know what settings are most frequently you're asking people to check.
I think you pretty much covered everything in the with clearing the cache, updating are the main things. Possibly removing any the extensions and apps. Same things the students run into. It's just different for teachers because they're using Windows. That's the main thing I see. So, is the missing not understanding using it in Windows versus using it on the Chromebook, and maybe the teacher trying to help the student There's just a mismatch of the way things are done, and I think there's sometimes there's a misunderstanding, and it leads to some problems. But mainly clearing the cache, updating Windows or the Chrome browser on a Windows machine, or Chrome OS if it's a Chromebook. Generally, those tend to fix most of the issues. I haven't had a lot of problems reported from teachers this year regarding those kinds of things. So it's been pretty smooth with the Google
you
stuff.
You want to show them that? There's we only have about 10 minutes left.
Well, very quickly, the Microsoft search. So if you hit the Microsoft button and you typed update, that's the easiest way to get your machine to at least take a look at machine updates that are pending that you might have put off and put off and put off if you have a Windows machine. Just really hitting that Windows key, typing update should lead you to where it probably might have to reboot several times, but that's the place to make sure that everything is updated. It's kind of counterintuitive. Chrome will not push an update, even if we tell it to continually update. Sometimes it gets hung up and it doesn't update. And it's in a weird spot. Like if you go to the upper right-hand corner and hit those 3 dots and then hit about, or what is it? Is it about? Oh no, help. And then hit help.
You want me to show it?
Yes. Can you please show? Anytime you're talking about these kinds of things, it's best to show.
I'll pull it up and show it. Yeah, give me 1 second here.
I like to tell and not show, which is the counterintuitive way to do it.
Which confuses us all.
If you go to settings and then about Chrome, it'll automatically start updating for you.
All right. Can everybody see this here?
Yep.
All right. So I've pulled up settings already, but I'm going to show you what it looks like if I have not done so. So if you're just in any Chrome tab, as Greg was mentioning, if you hit the 3 dots here, there's 2 different ways to get to this, but there are settings and then help. And it's the easiest if you're just trying to update to go right to this help and about Google Chrome. If you are on a Chromebook, you may see Chrome OS here, but either way, it's the same thing. When you click about, it'll bring you to this page. And when you do that, as Vinny was just mentioning, it basically is going to instantly start updating. It may ask, oh, you've got a new version. Do you want to update, and have a little button there? But when it's done, it's going to say, hey, you're almost ready. You have to hit this button to relaunch. And what that's going to do is close your Chrome or almost, reboot if it's a Chrome OS update. It may ask you to reboot the whole machine. But either way, hitting this button in Windows will cause Chrome to close. Just to note, it's going to close every window you have, and it's going to then reopen Chrome. Generally, with the same tabs you had open when you closed, because Chrome does that for you, trying to save those tabs. But I'm not going to hit it right now because it'll cancel the meeting for me, but you would hit this and it would update. So that's really it. And for Chrome OS, often just a reboot will cause that to happen anyway. But getting people to hop in there and check this directly can help a lot, because sometimes it's hung up on something. There's a little bug that won't just let it auto update when you restart. So going into this page to check and forcing it to is a big help. And then, as Neil was mentioning, another thing we can do, clearing the cache, excuse me, clearing the cache or other settings you might have can be a big deal to kind of getting out any hiccups in a particular website. If you are in a particular website, we have a method to clear just that website's data, or we can kind of clear everything. It can get a little confusing if you clear everything at first, though, because when we go to websites, we're used to them behaving in certain ways because they save our settings, they save the fact that you're logged in many cases, or save your name and password, that sort of thing. And when you clear everything, it's going to kind of wipe that back to day one. And so you may lose, certain settings within websites. And if most of them are working fine, you generally don't need to go the nuclear option and clear everything. You can usually clear site settings on just one particular site. So in this case, I'm going to open up Drive and just show you what you might do in that case. So while I'm in Drive, you see this little lock icon up here in the left-hand corner or the left-hand side, of the URL bar. For whatever website you're on, that lock icon may be locked or unlocked. Hopefully it is locked. That means it is a secure website. But when you click it, it will bring up specific information for this site. And if you click cookies, often this is the simplest piece to clear. When you click that, it's going to open up the cookies in use for this website. When they say cookies, they mean essentially little bits of information that website has left on your computer to sort of record that history, as we're saying, record things like your settings, but it also records a lot of background information that sometimes can get mucked up. And so we need to go in there and clear it out. And the simplest way to do that is when you've opened those cookies, we can just clear out everything here. Now, to note, this is for Google, so you're going to see a lot of related websites. It's not just going to be Drive. But if I wanted to remove all of these, it's selected on the first one already. You see that because it's got the little gray highlight there. And if I hit remove, it's going to delete that. And then it would move on to the next. And I can just keep hitting remove until this is cleared right out. Again, I'm not going to do that right at this moment because it'll sign me out of my Google account here. Let me show you for another website quickly. I'm going to jump to the Jump Rope website. Once I get in here, okay. So for Jump Rope, of course now it's having a sign-in problem. Sorry, one moment. There we go. All right, so my Jump Rope again looks very different than yours might, but if I wanted to clear the cookies for Jump Rope, again, I'm clicking the lock icon, clicking cookies, and because I signed in with Google, it is using the Google cookies as well, but I'm just going to show you clearing the Jump Rope ones for myself right now. If I want to get rid of these 3 that are for Jump Rope websites, I'm going to click one, remove, remove, and remove. So now all of those that were for Jump Rope are cleared out. That can happen, or that can be necessary sometimes. If you're having trouble just signing into Jump Rope, it's not signing in. Even if you click sign in with Google, as it just did for me, clearing these things can help wipe that stuff out and start fresh. And as I say, this is just for the one website you're on right now, so you likely don't need to do it for all of them. And that will usually correct issues on an individual website. If we do need to go to a more serious route where you're having trouble almost everywhere you're going, or need to clear things more extensively, you can get to that by clicking the 3 dots, going down to settings, which is just above where we were showing earlier with the help. And when you go to settings, you're going to get right into your Chrome settings. And if you scroll down just a bit, you have this privacy and security section and clear browsing data. When you click that, it's going to show you have some options here. The basic option is generally enough for most folks. It's going to give you a range. So for what range do I want to clear data? For all time means any data stored in your browser at all. You can choose to clear for a more limited time range, but often you need to clear everything in the case that you're using something this severe anyway. And then it doesn't automatically delete your browsing history. That's not checked by default. What it's clearing is the cookies and other site data that are stored, the things we sort of just cleared out manually for one site, and also cached images and files. Now, what this means is that sometimes when you go to a website, it saves bits of that because the website doesn't change all of itself frequently. A lot of times, much of the website stayed the same. There's the same background, the same structure for the site, and only certain things have changed, like a new menu or a new news article or things like that. So the cached things are there to help save time, not have to go download everything from the internet every time. But sometimes that stuff can get out of date too, or become confused and it's showing you old information and you need to make sure it's cleared right out to show you just brand new stuff. So clearing these 2 for all time, you hit that right here and it's going to wipe out all of that browsing, cookies, data, cache data, all of that, and help start from fresh. Now, again, if you do something this severe, you may notice some changes on certain websites. When you open them up, some things may be just out of order. Some of your settings may not be there the way you had them before, but you can certainly change those back, save them again, and it's going to work just fine. And in fact, you might notice things work a heck of a lot better because these things can definitely get messed up occasionally. But that's that.
Yeah, you'll also notice that you'll have to re-log into everything. So that when your session, if you're used to things automatically logging you in everywhere, you're going to notice that that's disrupted, and you'll have to log in to all your places all over again.
Now, as I just cleared my jump rope things, now I'm going back to jump rope. You'll see I'm not logged in anymore. It signed me out, even though I didn't officially sign out. I have to sign in again, and that's because I cleared those cookies for jump rope, so it knocked me out essentially.
And I would always encourage everyone to look into third-party password managers. Now, it's fine having Chrome do your passwords and everything like that. But it's always good to not have everything in one platform. Like, not have Apple have all your data, not have Google have all of your data. At least you could have a third party. Milt and I both use a company called LastPass. It generates secure passwords. It keeps secure notes. It saves all the passwords, but it's platform independent. So like Google doesn't have my admin level credentials for Google. So if Google is compromised, I still have a third party that's keeping all of my secure data. It's not Google themselves that are keeping it. So you know what I mean? Like, so you should think about looking at third-party password managers. And if you just put that into a Google search, I'm sure articles will come up that tell you what the different ones happen to be. Milt and I have both been using LastPass for more than 10 years. And we keep all our work and personal things in LastPass. So like it is very secure.
Maybe we can show that off next week.
That would be great. I was just going to suggest that. I also use LastPass, and I upgraded for the family one because my parents, they were driving me crazy because they could never remember their passwords, and I needed to help them with something. So, it's a pretty powerful tool, and that way you only have to really remember one password to get into all of your passwords. So you should not be reusing the same password in multiple accounts is basically what it's really helpful for. Is you can generate really difficult passwords, but you only need to remember one to help you do that. Okay, so we are super out of time. Does anybody have any questions for the IT team about what we just talked about? Cindy says, thank you very much. Yes, this was really informative and helpful, I think. And yeah, I will put you guys on for a LastPass next week. How about that? And show about how to keep your data secure with the tool. And
yeah,
it's
we can
free.
talk about just password security in general, and then we can recommend LastPass and show how it's used. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Great idea. All right. Everybody's saying thanks. Maureen says thanks. All right. I guess that's it. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the hot day today. Bye.